So, welcome everyone to another exciting episode of AstroVeda. And if you want to help us make this show more successful, hit that follow button. And if you enjoy what you hear, don't forget to rate and review our show because it helps us reach more listeners like you. And today I'm joined again by Jill Loftis, who will guide us through the cosmic events coming up in May. And as usual, I will share some Ayurveda and Yoga tips to help you transition with ease and joy in the weeks ahead. So now let's jump into today's conversation. Welcome back, Jill. How has your month been so far?
Thanks. I appreciate being here, Carina. And it has been an interesting April so far. As we are recording this a little early in the month, there's still some, I'm sure, some ups and downs to come. But for me, personally, I feel like it's been very much a retrograde month. You know, a lot of things coming back from the past, a lot of interesting glitches, people from the past. And also just a mild bit of overwhelm. I don't know. Tell me about you.
I have had a great month so far, I would say, because I'm doing a Kundalini yoga challenge at the moment with a group together, and today is day 31. So every single morning I do the same Kundalini yoga kriya that my teacher gave me. And this is really amazing. Like I mean, you know Kundalini yoga very well. You can feel the effects, no? And but yeah, so far it has been a great month so far. It had been, yeah.
That's
And I
a
would,
perfect way to move all that Aries energy that we have. I mean, Kundalini. Yeah, that's perfect.
yeah, I have the same feeling. It was a good moment to start, and I think end of the month I will finish the 40 days challenge. Yeah. But let's see, the month isn't over yet, and let's see what else unfolds in our lives. But Jill, before you tell us more about the cosmic events happening in May, I would like to understand how these events influence our lives and charts. So, how can we determine if it's impacting us more strongly or more subtly? It's like, could you explain that a little bit?
Yes, sure. So think of the energies of the planets as vibrations, and those vibrations emanate from the planets, and then they come through the filter of each zodiac sign. And so understanding your sun, your moon, and your rising sign is really important. And your rising sign just is the sign that was on the cusp of the earth in the place of your birth. So the city, the country, at the time of your birth. And that really tones your personal outlook. And it also shows us where these different events are happening in your personal sky. So it can be really useful to have your own chart. You can get a free chart on astro.com. There's plenty of places to get a free chart. But just to understand some of the baseline energies of each of the planets can be useful. Just for example, the sun, your sun, most people know their sun sign. That's the essence of you, your vitality, and how you kind of meet the world. And it's of course very special to Leos. Leos should always know what's happening with the sun because it's their star. Then we have the moon, which is our feelings, our emotional body, how we absorb and interact at the deepest levels of self. And so understanding your moon sign really helps you to understand where your sensitivities are and your intuition. And of course, the moon is most important to the people who are Cancers because that's their ruling star. The Mercury is your mind and how you speak, how you think, and is most important to Gemini and to Virgo. Venus is how we love and what's important to us, what we value, how we use our resources. And it's the ruler of Taurus and also Libra. Then there's Mars. Mars is our will, our drive, our action-oriented kind of energy, how we take charge and go after things or don't. And Mars is most important to the Aries energies, Aries people, and also Scorpio. And Scorpio is also connected to Pluto. Some of these signs also have an ancient ruler and a modern ruler, which can be useful information. Then there's Jupiter. Jupiter is the planet of expansion. And actually, Jupiter's going to change signs in May, which is really kind of a big deal. It's a 12-year cycle. It's a 12-year cycle wrapping up and a new 12-year cycle commencing. And it is most important to the Sagittarian energies and also Pisces. And then Saturn. Saturn is limitation, restriction. Sometimes Saturn gets a bad rap, but Saturn's also your skeleton. It's your skin. It's the foundation of things. So Saturn energy is very important, and is the ruler of Capricorn and Aquarius. And then we get to the outer planets, and these are more, they move very slowly, and they're more of a subtle energy, and more of a related to groups. There's Uranus, which is sometimes considered the higher level of Mercury or higher octave of Mercury. And that Uranian energy is the energy of sudden shocking events, synchronicities, the internet, technology, and considered the modern ruler of Aquarius. Then there's Neptune. Neptune is kind of mysterious. It's the planet of inspiration. It's the planet of glamour, of illusion, and is most important to the Pisces folks. And then finally, Pluto, which, though it may have been demoted by astronomers, astrologers realize the importance of that energy of death and regeneration. It's very much the energy of the phoenix. And of course, we're taking note now with it newly being in Aquarius and going to be actually stationing retrograde right as we start the month of May. Very important to take note of the symbols of where in our lives we need to regenerate in some way and where society needs to regenerate. And of course, it is most important to the Scorpio people. So Scorpio sun, Scorpio moon, Scorpio rising.
So this means, for example, my sun is in Gemini. So when Mercury is going retrograde, like it is at the moment, then I might be more influenced than another person who might not have one of the main planets, like moon, ascendant, or sun sign in Gemini or in Virgo, because both of them rule Mercury. Is that correct?
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Knowing the ruler of your sun sign and your rising or ascendant, those are the keys to know what those two are, because they do exert more influence upon you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, super interesting. Thanks so much for explaining that. Yeah, so what can we expect of the month May?
I really, so as we mentioned last month, the planets are really clustered into these specific areas of everyone's charts. And that's why it feels like everyone's experiencing big breakthroughs, but also big breakdowns. Now, this month, more of the energies are moving into Taurus, and that kind of slows things down a little bit and also makes it even more important to embrace the Tauran qualities of, being methodical, maybe going a little bit more slow and steady, staying grounded, things like that. I do think this should be more of an easeful month. Whenever I think of this month, I kind of think of picking up the pieces of last month. And but yeah, it's another super active astrology month. And we start out with Venus clashing in a harsh aspect with Pluto with the very first day of the month. And so with a lot of these influences, think of it as the day, at least the day before, and possibly 2 or 3 days after, especially with a slow moving planet like Pluto. So that's something to watch out for: power struggles, watch out for people who are trying to exert their will over yours. There could be a clash of values. And then on the second, you really want to observe. Pluto will pause in the sky and appear to move backwards, right? The planets don't actually move backwards, but it will station retrograde. And this will really give us time to review, rethink, and repair some of the things in the early Aquarius in our chart. And you'll see it in the world. Usually there are events. And so it's important to kind of see the symbols in your own chart and in the world at large.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be a little stressful.
So would you say that we will need some more stability in our lives?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, just to embrace the slowdown and to do that mindfully, like not just crashing on the couch, right?
Yes. Yeah. So this pulsation between also chaos and order that we know also from Ayurveda so well. I think it's called Spanda, when we alternate between these two opposites. And yeah, I mean, when we try not to find comfort in routine and in rhythm during such chaotic times, it really creates a sense of stability, of predictability in our daily lives. And I mean, Ayurveda is really big on daily rhythms. And because we really want to kind of create a pattern of flow of activities and of habits that we engage in regularly. Yeah, but something that is really nurturing us and that is supporting also our very unique body-mind constitution that we have. So it can be like basics, no, like food or exercise and self-care routines that can be super helpful during that time. And I would say the number one for me is really to follow the circadian rhythm. So like a very consistent sleep-wake cycle, very regular meal times. And I think during that month of May, it will be super important with the regular meal times, because when we go through Taurus, we could have a tendency, like to engage a little bit more in overeating or eating too often, or maybe to eat the wrong things. Because when we have this consistent sleep-wake cycle, when we have these regular meal times, it really helps to regulate the body's internal clock. And then it also supports hormone regulation and also neurotransmitter function, but also, of course, all the physiological processes that are happening. So yeah, I would say like adequate rest is really crucial during the time. But also like eating well supports our physical health, can really positively impact our mood and our energy levels, and provide this feeling of control and stability when the energies are so intense.
Yes, absolutely. And I think Taurus time is also a good time to start incorporating some of the like really wonderful fresh greens that are coming out, and some of the wild foods as well. I mean, I know I've been making things with nettle. I've just learned to not be afraid of stinging nettle. And you can tell that it just really helps to kind of feed you at a deeper level.
Yeah,
Well,
because not like everything, like spring is associated also with the color green, so and nettle is also green, all the wild greens, green leafy vegetables, and they bring a certain lightness into spring. And especially when we go through Taurus, which is an earth sign that is also more on the heavy side, like the energy, then when we have all these leafy greens and these highly oxygenating foods like nettle or dandelion, or ladies thistle, this can really help to promote more lightness in our digestive system, and then of course also in our mind. But I know we have another very important event coming up with Mercury in May. So what's going on here, Jill?
yeah, so Mercury is still moving backwards, and it is coming in contact with Chiron again. And so these repetitive hits in the sign of Aries have been potentially agitating, potentially bringing up issues, especially in relationships, because the nodes of the moon are still in that Aries Libra axis. And so really watching for mental agitation or sudden overreactions, and needing to stay stable, especially through, around May 5th through the 8th. And Eris, the goddess of discord, is also there, adding to that kind of agitation energy. And Mars will be transiting through there next month. So it's almost like you want to set up the potential to resolve some issues mentally or through meaningful conversation this month versus pushing it back or shoving it down within yourself. It needs to be processed in harmonious ways.
Mm-hmm. So what would you say could be some potential issues during that time?
So it really is looking at the things that trigger you. It's looking at the things that make you overreactive. Where are you maybe being too rash, or speaking before taking that deep breath and thinking, this would be better left unsaid, or this should be in my journal and not, not out in conversation. And in understanding, if you do feel that sense of agitation or even experience some of that unbalanced fire energy in the body, whether that's coming out in, skin issues or upset stomach or something, that you really take the time to process this. That Chiron asks us to do the work of healing, of processing, and not just, sweeping it into the closet to deal with another day. It really is giving us a second opportunity to do this work.
So would you say that Pitta could be potentially activated during that time?
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because it sounds like this, no? So it could, yeah, it could happen, no? That we have a lot of pent up excess energy that that could also result, no, maybe more in anger or frustration. And yeah, like some techniques I could think of when it comes to like anger or this frustration. No, it's also like when something is going against the flow, no, but it's also like this energy, like when we have an excess pitta energy. Like when we think of anger, it's not inherently bad. No, it simply signals that we are not okay with something. Often when we are honest, because things are not going the way we want them to, or we feel like someone has overstepped our boundaries. No, this can happen quite often during these times, and anger can be a very, very strong, very dynamic energy. And if it's not used in the right way, then it can be very harmful. It can be very destructive. And of course, no, we want to avoid that. So I always like when people ask no clients, how can I deal better with anger? Like I always say, like as stronger as we feel it, as more we like we need to choose a physical outlet, and we really need to use our whole body, you know, like to get it out, to express it. Like it's better to do it alone or with people, like one is doing the anger release after the other, or you all to do it together, no? That can be also sometimes very helpful. But like if you're just upset, no, then it's maybe just a breathing exercise, like extended breath or alternate nostril breathing that can be helpful. However, if it's quite strong, what I find super helpful is like you hit a pillow, you scream into a pillow. No, you can also take a pool noodle, you can slam it against a door frame until you can really feel the anger subsiding. That can be very, very beneficial. And then once, you know, like it releases and it decreases, then sometimes we can also see things more clearly, you know, and we can sometimes also see, okay, maybe that was a little like we overreacted a bit, or we felt it like much stronger than the situation. Yeah.
Those are great tips.
No, so yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, anger is such an important emotion, no? It's just like we don't learn as children or as teenagers in our society how to deal with. And yeah, what I said, like it's not a bad emotion. It's just like we need to use it in the right way, and we can like anger always gives us the opportunity to change or to transform a situation so that it feels more authentic, no more, yeah, aligned, or yeah, like a little bit more, like a little bit more true, no?
Yeah, especially for women. Especially for
Yes.
women. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we also have this month part of one of the best new moons coming up on the 7th. It's a new moon in Taurus, and it has just this lovely little blessing to Saturn, which gives it a certain amount of sticking power and stamina. And so that's from your Taurus area of your chart to the Pisces area of your chart. So set those intentions. Really think about this is a great new moon for improving your finances, for embracing abundance, to really honor, respect, and care for your body, and feed it well and treat it with honor. It's definitely a powerful new moon, and great for in setting intentions in case if you have any disordered eating or a difficult relationship with food. It's a very powerful new moon for that.
Mm-hmm. So
Um,
yeah, so a lot about yeah, the financial situation, and like what has like a typical Taurus person, what kind of body image do they have? Like what could be a potential challenge?
Yeah, sometimes with Taurus energy, there tends to be a little bit more of a stocky build sometimes, or more of a physical need, and a tendency to always work hard, but maybe not work smart, right? So you have to find that like tendency to do that, and to really understand there is to have a healthy relationship with food. It's an interesting dynamic. So much of the world does not have enough food, and so much of the world has too much food. And so we can't make food the enemy. We have to understand and embrace. And that's why Ayurveda is so perfect, to really help a person's body understand what it needs. And I do think also, especially Taurus people, they need touch, they need body work, they need massage, they need hugs. So Taurus time is a good time to really understand that about yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what you just said, no, Ayurveda, because like Ayurveda can help us really to understand what unique digestive type do we have. And for example, a very typical, or someone who has a Vata digestion or a typical Vata person, no, because this is also very important for our listeners to understand. For example, someone can be a Pitta person with a Vata digestion, or someone can be a Vata person with a Pitta digestion. So we have all kind of combinations. But let's say a very typical Vata person or Vata digestive type, like they will forget to eat when they're stressed out. They easily just forget to eat until the blood sugar crashes, and then they say, "Oh my God, I really need to eat something now." And whereas a typical Pitta person, they will have the tendency to eat and 2 hours to eat again because they just burn away that food so quickly, and they just need to fuel the digestion again and again. So these are often the people like they eat and snack throughout the day because yeah, they have too much fire in the digestion. And a typical Kapha person, these are more the persons that have a tendency then to overeat. Now, and when we look at Taurus, I don't say that every Taurus is a Kapha person, but often we can see they have many Kapha elements in their constitution. So yeah, and
Absolutely.
Ayurveda.
And there's so many planets in Taurus right now. We have the sun in Taurus, Uranus in Taurus, Jupiter in Taurus, Venus in Taurus. I mean, that really it amplifies it. And just like anything, it can swing out of balance pretty easily.
Yeah, because like when there's a lot of Taurus energy, would we have more a tendency also to indulge too much into certain things?
Oh, I think so. Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I mean, maybe even more of a desire just to consume more food, but also just indulgence, period. And that's again, even financially, you might find yourself like wanting to buy a luxury item more, or like, oh, I'm just gonna go ahead and invest in this, like, long term, whatever. And it's like, okay, well, do you have that money? Like, you need to be really sensible. Yeah. And it's, think of it, think of the ruling sign of Venus, right? It's very Venusian, but that Venusian, that Venusian energy can get into the side of indulgence and
Mm-hmm.
overdoing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, super interesting. No, I have the Taurus persons I met so far in my life, they have always been also very, very generous. No, and sometimes even to the point that I thought, oh my God, like I had it once, like it was the boyfriend of a friend of mine, and we met for dinner, and he didn't. It was the first time he met me. It was the first time he met another friend of mine, and in the end, he'd all invited us in the restaurant, and we said, no, 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 we can't accept that. No, 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 no. I want to invite you all. And I thought, oh my gosh, I told her what. Like I asked her, what's his star sign, and she said, no, he's a Taurus. And I said, okay.
Yeah,
So
I'm a
yeah,
Taurus sun as well. But yeah, Taurus, you can definitely see a lot of times Taurus will offer to pick up the bill, and Tauran men a lot of times will wear rings. That's one of the things you can kind of,
rings.
Rings, yeah. It's
Why is
if you see
that?
a man wearing a ring, often they'll be Tauran. It's kind of interesting. They tend to like jewelry or nice watches and things like that, but rings in particular, it's kind of funny.
Good to know.
Right? It's fun to study, it's just fun to, I mean, that's how you learn, right? You learn the signs of the people around you and you find their tendencies. But
Mhm.
yeah, so and then on May 13th, we're keeping an eye on that because the sun is going to merge with Uranus. And so this can bring more of an erratic edge. The Taran energy does not like this, but this could be a lot for the nervous system. So I want you to, I mean, if you could offer tips, like I feel like people sometimes wait until they're really at frazzled to try to do something. But I like if you know the astrology and there are going to be a couple days where the energy seems really erratic, what would you suggest other than clinging to the schedule, right?
So yeah, do you say that because we have so many planets in Taurus, like we had, I think, a similar situation last month when we had like a stellium in Aries, I think. Is it a
Yes.
similar situation that we find here in May? Just that all the planets, not all the planets, but many of the planets are in Taurus?
It's similar, but it's different because of the presence of Uranus and Jupiter, because Jupiter expands, makes things bigger, more
Mm-hmm.
extreme. And you can look back 12 years ago to see what it was doing in your chart then when you think of expansion.
Mm-hmm.
But the Uranian energy is just, it brings sudden, shocking events, and it just brings a certain for the last few years that it's been in Taurus. It's been shaking things up for Tauran people who don't always like change or not always change adept. So it's kind of like, yes, this is a Taurus season, but it's got that kind of edge to it. So things to kind of understand, especially around the 13th, that you might really be feeling something. There could also be weather related events. Sometimes the Earth herself responds to Uranus energy when it's in an Earth sign. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, no, what we said in the beginning, like to establish a rhythm, not to follow supportive routines. But of course, like we also have some herbal remedies that we can think of, like chamomile and lavender, lemon balm. They can be consumed as teas or as supplements. So sometimes when I know we have a phase like this, or a couple of weeks or a couple of days coming up, then I will have one herbal tea mixture. So I have a lot of different herbal teas at home, and then I just take a couple of herbals, like in this case, I would, for example, take chamomile and lavender, and then I will have that every day. And that can be already helpful to promote some relaxation. Of course, in Ayurveda, we'll use ashwagandha, to reduce the cortisol levels in the body, which is one of the main stress hormones. And ashwagandha, of course, also it assists in managing stress, anxiety, depression, but also poor sleep. Because during these times, sometimes, especially when people have maybe already a vata imbalance, or they have their natural high in vata, like as I am, then they can be affected even more by these changes, and then it can affect the sleep because, of course, the nervous system is affected. And but I must say, with ashwagandha, I would always like ask a professional before taking it, because it's not recommended for everyone. No, ashwagandha, when you take a little bit into your mouth, we can taste, no, it's very earthy and heavy. So when a person, for example, also has a lot of heaviness in the body, then we need sometimes to combine it with something, or it's maybe not the right. Like at the moment, I have the feeling everyone is taking ashwagandha when they're stressed. Everyone is taking it, but it's not always like it can be helpful, but it's not recommended, of course, for everyone. So, but I think one thing that everyone can avoid during the time is, like, we can all limit stimulants, no, like caffeine or nicotine and other substances that can, yeah, agitate the nervous system even more. Also cacao, no, like sometimes women don't know that. They go to women's circles, they have a lot of cacao, or like they have one glass of strong cacao, but cacao is also very stimulating, and then they don't know why they can't sleep the day or the night after, no? But it's also yeah, it's stimulating. So maybe also just to reduce all these things during that time.
And you offer these services, right? I mean, you can book a consult with you to understand what to take, yes?
Yes, absolutely. Like I work with herbals, I work with nutrition, but also with different breathing exercises. Because also with breathing exercises, I mean, there are a couple of breathing exercises that everyone can do and can have some benefits from. But it's always like every one of us is so unique. And then when we get also a very personalized, yeah, consultation and advice, then it fits us often much better than if we go, yeah, I mean, no, during this AstroVeda show, we give very, let's say, more general advice, and because
Right.
everyone is
Yeah.
so
Because I
different.
love lemon balm, but like I have thyroid issues. So I don't,
Yes.
I had a consult, so I know not to do that. So yeah.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah,
all
and these
right.
things we just don't know, no, and we often don't find them on the internet. Yeah, totally.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, sourcing those things too. Like I'm sure you have recommendations on where to get your herbs because you can't just get those things anywhere.
Yeah,
Um,
and also depends on where you live, no? Because we always wanna use like for example, ashwagandha doesn't come from here. So still many people find it useful, but it's best like to use herbals that grow in our environment, no? Because we always say our outer environment becomes our inner environment, and people usually respond much better to local plants than to plants that yeah have to travel half around the globe to yeah to be found here, no?
yeah, that makes so
Yes.
much sense. That makes so much sense. Yeah, well then, and adding to the party in Taurus on the 15th, Mercury will move into Taurus, and just a day or two before that, it comes out of the shadow of its retrograde. So I feel like then there will feel like it's like the beginning of the month is kind of stabilizing, and then we've got that contact with the Sun Uranus, and then Mercury changes signs, and things will start to move forward again. This really interesting connection of Jupiter, Sun, and then Uranus, Venus, which again could add to the potential for overeating and sluggish digestion and things like that. So, yeah, I'm sure that the more that you look into what's seasonal, that can really help with digestion, right?
Yes, we always say, like to eat seasonal and local foods because they carry the energies that we need during that season. And often it's also like when we have digestive issues, then it's often due to overeating or it's due to that we eat the wrong types of food. And so one of the things I find also very beneficial during this high Taurus energy is that we sip a lot of warm water throughout the day. So usually I have a thermos with me because often we eat because we have appetite or we have emotional hunger, but not because we are hungry. And when we always sip some warm water, this can help us in many ways. So we stay hydrated, we can prevent overeating, we also can prevent snacking. This is also something that we could potentially experience during Taurus, like with so much Taurus energy, that we also kind of, oh, we have done it well. So now, yes, let's have a piece of cake because we have accomplished something that could be also a Taurus trait, no?
Very much so.
Um, yeah. But like when it happens, like I mean it happens, no? We all sometimes eat when we are not hungry or we overeat, happens, I think, to every one of us, and that we engage in emotional eating. And one of the herbs that we have in Ayurveda is Triphala. And that can really help with the digestion, with detoxifying. It also helps regulate bowel movement, supports overall digestion, or sometimes just a ginger tea. Like I think most of us have ginger at home. You just take a little piece, you cook it for 20 minutes in water, like covered. Then you have a little bit of it, and it can also relieve some digestive issues. No.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh,
but
I like Triphala. Triphala is great. I
Yeah.
have used Triphala for years as a good Taurus soul, yes. All right, next up on the 19th, we're going to have the North Node in Aries touching Mars in Aries. And this is quite the activation. It'll feel like a drive for independence, a drive to achieve, a little bit more of a accelerant, which will help kind of shift out of that Kappa kind of Taurus vibe. And then on the 20th, the sun will move into Gemini. And that also introduces kind of a new energy. And as the sun moves in fact, and as everything moves into Gemini season, one by one, everything is because the way it's lining up, it's just everyone one by one. As they move out of Taurus, they're going to move into Gemini and they're going to move into a positive aspect with Pluto. And so looking for opportunities, looking for new, fresh ideas to flow in, I think that will feel really good when we get towards the end of the month. And then we've got our full moon on the 23rd at 2 degrees, 55 minutes in the sign of Sagittarius. And so understanding where that is in your chart, that Sagittarius energy, and how you can let go. It's a somewhat emotional full moon. And all full moons are somewhat emotional, but Sagittarius energy kind of is very expansive and makes things bigger. So thinking of letting go of outworn philosophies, letting go of excess, letting go of that urge to just take off and do things without wisdom, right? The highest vibration of Sagittarian energy is embracing wisdom, your own wisdom and the wisdom that you've gained through life experience and through study. So a couple days of emotionality and the potential for you to really want to take action.
And Sagittarius energy, can it also have a tendency towards like arrogance or kind of feeling a little bit superior to others?
It can. It's interesting. You think of it's the energy of priests, prophets, and professors, I like to say. But yeah, it can be this kind of well, I know exactly where I'm going, and I take off, and I don't review, I don't think it through. It can be, impulsive in a different way than Aries energy. It can feel like they have that you're armed with the knowledge, and so you know exactly what to do. And yeah, so to try to be a little bit more collaborative. I mean, that's what that North Node in Aries is going to show you where you're being. North Node touching Mars in Aries is going to introduce some of that energy of you need to be independent in some ways, but across the sky is the Libra. We do have to partner with others, and we need to do it in a way that's harmonious for both and not self-sacrificing.
So what's the difference between the North and the South Node? Because I've
So
heard that several times, but what does it really mean?
yeah, so the nodes of all the planets have nodes except the sun. And they are mathematical points, not actual planets. But the nodes of the moon are most influential. It's where the moon and the Earth kind of interact with each other mathematically. The North Node, I like to think of as kind of where we're headed, what we're supposed to embrace, but it also indicates increase. It makes things bigger, has almost a Jupiterian effect. The South Node introduces more of the shadow of whatever sign it's in. So in a natal chart, it's more past, I like to think of it as past life patterns that you want to minimize. And by transit, I feel like it highlights the shadow of whatever sign it's in. And so the South Node being in Libra right now, that's what's really showing us, wow, this relationship isn't working for me, or I'm putting this person ahead of me, or I'm being social and smile and nodding and saying yes when really inside I'm screaming no. Again, listening to that anger, like you were saying, the positive uses of that energy.
Yeah, super interesting. So is there any ritual that you can think of for the full moon in Sagittarius?
Absolutely. So it's time, I would think, time to let go of outworn philosophies. We're all raised in a culture or in religions or in systems where we are taught to what to think and how to think. And it's important as we get older to let go of outworn philosophies, let go of things that no longer serve us. So it would be good to ritualize the release of that. It'd be good to finish up if you're taking any courses or classes that have kind of been dangling out there, to hop on that early May and wrap it up on that full moon, and allow that, just that feeling of success and completion would be wonderful. And yeah, just also to let go of that, impetuous nature. There can be this, I learn something and then I just move on and I want to learn something else, just the accumulation of knowledge just for its sake versus the integration of knowledge. And I think that would be a good thing to let go of or release for that full moon.
So are these the two opposites between, because Sagittarius is the opposite sign of Gemini, and Gemini loves to accumulate knowledge. Okay, they
Right.
love, but often they don't integrate it. They don't even, sometimes, like if they have a lot of water in their constitution, they won't even finish that course and will already start the new one. Whereas Sagittarius really goes into depth. Is it correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. And immediately right after that, the days after that, both Venus and Jupiter move into Gemini. And especially with Jupiter, it's the brand new beginning of a 2-year cycle. But with this full moon being right across the sky from those points, it really will it really illuminate all those Gemini, the shadow of Gemini. Yeah, of being too casual, of just not letting those facts sink in, and taking your knowledge and really sharing it in a meaningful way.
What could be other shadows of Gemini?
Other shadows of Gemini are indecision or duality, kind of like I want both. And it can be also, not really, always being changeable. Remember, they're ruled by Mercury. And so they kind of can be so adaptable to different social situations that they kind of get lost in there. And I would say also sometimes Geminis can polish up the truth, or enforce only one version of the truth, and kind of rationalize in a lot of ways. And so those are things to kind of watch out for with that energy.
Okay, good. Good to know.
Yeah.
This sounds like it also sounds like a lot of Vata energy, this ever-changing nature, starting this, not finishing up, starting something new, thinking about that, starting a sentence, not finishing it, starting the next one already. It's also a lot of Vata energy. Yeah, totally.
Absolutely. Well, and then, at the end of the month, we also have Mercury coming into contact with Uranus. So I look at this with both, the new energies in Gemini, and then Mercury touching Uranus and Taurus. It's almost like at the end of the month, the last few days, make sure you have space to do some repetitive movement, or go for your walk without listening to something. Sweep the walk, chop the vegetables without having the television on, or something like that, so that you can tap into potential wisdom or downloads during that time, because there could be just a sudden idea comes to you that all of a sudden, that adaptable Gemini energy is like, okay, now I have this idea that came to me and this insight, and now I have a series of wonderful ideas. And so how do I bring them forward?
Okay. So what could be a potential issue during the time?
Well, I mean, it can be too many ideas. It can be too much mental energy. And it could, again, Mercury coming in contact with Uranus in the sign of Taurus could, disturb the mind so that everything feels just a little overwhelming again. And, your body might react, the physical body reacts to the mind, to the mental energy. And so, just to make sure that you're taking care of yourself and not letting yourself let that Vata energy just kind of like take over.
Yeah, and then we come back. I mean, I think during the month of May, rhythm and routines are really a big theme. Because also when it comes to overwhelm, because this gives us a lot of stability. And when I think of Gemini, I always have to think about the feet as well, because they really need to keep their feet on the ground. This gives them stability, more balance, and also helps to descend, that energy, that strong mental activity that they usually have. And yeah, to bring in the earth element a little bit, because then also the overwhelm can come down, and they can really kind of put their ideas a little bit more, what can they do in order to make them a reality, during the time. And what you said with overwhelm, that how can we feel it, like physical sensations or emotional responses. Also, how does our behavior change, when we have when we experience too much overwhelm during that time. And Gemini is also, they need to take care, or like when there's a lot of this Gemini energy, there's also we really need to avoid that alcohol and caffeine, because it's the energy will rise up even more, and during the Gemini time we really need to help the energy descend to the earth. And I find foot massage is an amazing thing, or when you have a tennis ball at home, not just rolling the soles of your feet on the tennis ball, really, in order to descend the energy.
That's a great
That
idea.
can be super helpful.
They can also get with the way the aspects are, especially towards the end of the month, worry, constantly worrying about something, or the body gives them a clue and they start Googling symptoms, or that can be something that can be problematic at that time as well. So is there a way, ayurvedically to know whether something is really a mental construct, like you're kind of creating an issue in the body with your mind, or if it's something that really needs to be checked out? Is there kind of I don't know, how do you handle that?
I think first we need to get a little bit more clarity about it. Just sometimes to speak it out or to write it down. So what exactly do I worry about? And is it the first time in my life? Is there really a risk? How real is a risk? Or is it something that I already worried a lot about, but in the end, it never became a reality? This is something that I do often, because I was someone I worried, I still worry from time to time, of course, but I was really someone, I was chronically worried by all kinds of things, until I asked myself always that question: is it really true? And how much, how big is a chance that it will become a reality? And just look back into your past and think about a similar situation. And sometimes it's also just but sometimes the body reacts very strongly. Sometimes, for example, we meet someone, like a potential partner, or we become friends with someone, or we have a job interview, and sometimes the body reacts very strongly. So, for example, we have that conversation and we go out and we have a really good gut feeling. We don't know why, and it's also not important. Like I always say, follow your gut. You can unpack the details later. And even you don't need to unpack them later. Just follow that gut feeling. But sometimes it's also, we really feel bad after an encounter or a situation. And this can be, we have anxiety, or the heart is racing. So we also sometimes need to distinguish between, is something from the past triggered, or is it really something that is happening here and now and just happening from the situation? I think really to tune in and just to observe what the body is sending for signals, and also not to react immediately. I mean, everyone is different. I'm someone, sometimes for me, it can take 2-3 days. It's like it comes in waves. And then, sometimes it's also like we live in a society where there's so much information coming in every day, so many things to do. And then sometimes it takes a little bit of time until we see it very clearly, and we just sometimes need to take that time. And but it is also a process, I think, to be really well connected to our intuition, and to read the body signals correctly. This is it needs to be trained. like many things in life, no?
Yeah. I feel like a daily yoga practice is one of the key things for that, you
Yes,
know.
totally, totally. No, but for me, for example, when I started doing yoga on a nearly daily basis, what really changed is that I stayed more connected to myself. Whereas before, sometimes when I had a lot of encounters with people, then sometimes I was kind of swept away, no? Like in the end, I thought, are these my feelings or are these the feelings of another person? Is this my concept or that of another person? And what I find really great with yoga is it's like a protection field you have around you, and you develop good boundaries, really healthy boundaries, and it just happens naturally without needing the mind, no, for doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And even, a lot of times people will say, oh, well, if you're stressed or whatever, you should meditate more. But I would say this, especially when the energy gets erratic and there's a lot of vata, meditation is actually contraindicated if you're feeling depressed or anxious. Diving more into the mind is really not the answer, the body.
No, it can even become worse. It can
Right.
even become worse. So, example, when I get really angry, like the last thing I would ever do is sit down and do a meditation. No, like no, get it out of the body. And for example, with too much vata energy, when they have high anxiety, when they have like a lot of worries, when they sit down and concentrate on the breath, it's just like the head is exploding. No, but then
Yeah,
when they do a physical workout, it's like they get back into their body, and then they have like a healthy ratio between mind and body again. And whereas before, often the mind is too dominant, no, and the emotions are just taking over, and then we think we are the emotions, and then it's like super difficult.
absolutely. I totally agree. I totally agree.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful. I really feel well prepared
Yay.
for this new month to come. And yeah, thank you all for joining us on this journey through AstroVeda today. And yeah, if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to hit that follow button and leave us a review, because your support helps us reach more listeners like you. So until next time, stay aligned with the stars, grounded in your being, and we're wishing you joy, peace, and cosmic connection. And see you in the next episode of AstroVeda.